The past and present life of stinky tofu. Stinky tofu is a type of Chinese fermented tofu with a strong odor. It is usually sold as a snack at night markets or roadside stands, or as a side dish at lunch bars, rather than in restaurants. Traditionally, the dish was fermented in brine with vegetables and meat, sometimes over several months. Modern factory-produced stinky tofu is marinated in brine for a day or two to add odor. Unlike cheese, there is no set recipe for fermenting stinky tofu. There is wide regional and individual variation in the manufacturing and preparation process. Traditionally, stinky tofu is prepared in a brine made from fermented milk, vegetables and meats. The brine may also include shrimp, amaranth, mustard, bamboo shoots and Chinese herbs. Brine fermentation can take several months. Modern factories often use faster methods to mass-produce stinky tofu. Fresh tofu is marinated in prepared brine for a day or two, especially for frying or boiling for cooking purposes. This process only adds to the smell of the marinated tofu, rather than allowing it to fully ferment. Stinky tofu can be eaten cold, steamed, stewed or, most commonly, deep-fried, and is often served with chili sauce or soy sauce. The color ranges from the golden yellow color of deep-fried Zhejiang-style tofu to the black color of typical Hunan-style stinky tofu. From a distance, stinky tofu smells, it is said, like rotten garbage or smelly feet. Some people compare it to the smell of blue cheese, while others compare it to rotten meat. It is said that the more you smell it, the better it smells. Second, the history of stinky tofu. According to legend, during the Qing dynasty, Wang Zhihe, a native of Huangshan, Anhui province, invented stinky tofu. After failing in the imperial examinations, Wang stayed in Beijing to sell tofu for a living. One day, he took a large pile of unsold tofu in his hand, cut the tofu into small pieces and put them into a tile jar. A few days later, he opened the jar and found that the tofu had turned green and was very smelly. At first, he thought the tofu tasted stinky, found it surprisingly tasty, and decided to start selling it in his store. Wang Zhihe's invention of stinky tofu became so widely known that it was later offered at the Qin Palace. This dish is now very popular in Taiwan. Changsha stinky tofu. Stinky tofu is prepared and eaten in different ways throughout China. For example, the dry stinky tofu in Changsha and Shaoxing is made in different ways and tastes very different. Changsha stinky tofu stores use soybeans marinated to make tofu. Stinky tofu marketed in Tianjin is mostly Nanjing style with mild aroma. In Shanghai, stinky tofu is deep-fried and sold on the street, usually with a spicy or sweet sauce, just like Shaoxing tofu. It can also be used as a condiment for congee and is often served as part of a regular breakfast. In Chongqing, stinky tofu on the street is usually deep-fried and then dipped in a mixture of cilantro leaves, scallions, chili powder, peppercorns and oil. Stinky tofu is also sometimes dipped in a spicy Sichuan hot pot. In Beijing, one form is sold in a jar as curd. Spicy stinky tofu. In Anhui, the freshness of stinky tofu depends largely on its spiciness. The spicier it is, the more it suits the local taste. Chinese legend has it that stinky tofu was invented in Anhui province, and indeed it is common to attribute the creation of tofu dishes to Anhui cuisine, which is considered the birthplace of tofu. Changsha, Hunan province. Stinky tofu is the symbol of street food in Changsha, also known locally as stinky ganzi. Changsha stinky tofu is known for its spicy nature. Unlike Sichuan stinky tofu, the Changsha style has a black crackling sound. Changsha stinky tofu is made from a marinade consisting of asparagus, wine malt and shiitake mushrooms. Once the white hair-like filaments grow on the surface and once they turn gray, the stinky tofu is ready to be deep-fried. Chopped mustard, chili peppers and small scallions are the regular ingredients of Changsha stinky tofu. Changsha stinky tofu is known as one of the 3 treasures of Hunan, or Hunan's 3 treasures, along with xiangtan lotus seeds and yongfeng chili sauce. Nanjing, Jiangsu. Nanjing has a kind of stinky tofu called Gaochun stinky tofu. Its brine is different from Changsha stinky tofu. The brine is made from rotten kimchi, which gives it a natural odor. Like Changsha's stinky tofu, it has a black crackling sound. Sichuan. In Sichuan, stinky tofu is often seasoned with sesame spice, a spicy numbing seasoning made from chili peppers and Sichuan peppercorns. Sichuan-style stinky tofu is not fried, so it does not have a black crunch. It needs to be stir-fried and cooked with different kinds of spices. Taiwan. In Taiwan, stinky tofu is often found at night market stalls. There are many ways to cook stinky tofu in Taiwan, including deep frying, steaming, boiling in soup and grilling, but the most common form is deep frying. Shinking Old Street in the Shinking district of New Taipei is famous for having an entire boulevard of restaurants specializing in serving a variety of Taiwanese stinky tofu. How to make stinky tofu. 1. Fried stinky tofu. Deep-fried stinky tofu is the most common variety in Taiwan's night markets and is considered less pungent than other varieties. It is almost always served with sauerkraut and garlic sauce. 2. Steamed stinky tofu. Steamed stinky tofu in Taiwan is considered to be the most pungent variety of stinky tofu. It is usually served with sauerkraut, chili sauce and garlic sauce. 3. Stewed stinky tofu. Stewed stinky tofu is served with a thick soup. Szechuan spicy base is often used, but may vary. The spicy broth is said to mask the smell and taste of the tofu. 4. Grilled stinky tofu. Grilled stinky tofu is a popular variety of stinky tofu that is believed to have originated in Taipei's Shinking district and is served in many night markets in Taiwan. It is often described as having a nutty, smooth center and a spongy outer crust. Stinky tofu pieces are inserted on bamboo sticks and grilled over charcoal with barbecue sauce. The unpleasant smell of grilled stinky tofu is relatively mild due to the amount of seasoning. Therefore, grilled stinky tofu is always recommended for those trying stinky tofu for the first time.